How are you dealing with this?
Yeah, it's like national news that Sweden's doing like a laissez-faire type approach to it.
Right.
So that's been like a pretty constant source of anxiety for me. But you have to do your part of being a socially distant person in a society that's maybe not uh, doing the social distance thing quite as much. I mean, of course, there are a lot of people doing it, but it's not. There's no government mandates other than I think what was it last week? They just moved the public space thing down from like 500 to 50, and yeah, like restaurants and stuff are still open. My wife still goes to work
So
twice a week, 2 out of 5 days.
restaurants are still open, but
Yes, you can sit.
are those restaurants?
Yeah, you can sit and have a meal in a restaurant. What they did was they took away the option of like eating at the bar, which I don't fully understand what that does. I'm sure it does something with sanitary levels, but yeah, I'm not.
Well, I assume that one's because the bar is the most likely place where you'll sit next to someone you don't know, whereas at a table,
Sure.
you're with your group.
Yeah, and the rule is like you can't if the restaurant's full, you can't stand there and wait, which again to me just is like the most. It's like we're doing our part. We're taking steps as a society, but it's like the smallest possible steps. Like public transport is still open, but you can't enter the bus from the front. So like that's a little weird. But yeah, I mean, like I was out on a jog an hour ago, 2 hours ago, and I was basically running on the street because people were like walking in groups of 2, 3, 4, 5, and just taking up the whole sidewalk, and no one's doing the 6 foot thing or whatever you guys are doing, the meter thing, 2 meters.
Right.
So I mean, it's definitely weird, but all you can do is your part. You can't make anyone else do this, and so
Now, when you say you went for a jog, what does that mean? As I understand it, in Sweden, it is called a jog.
Yog, yeah. Well, I mean, my theory is that they're doing the herd immunity approach that England was maybe doing at first too, but they're just not directly saying it.
Right.
I think the general consensus from like,
and I have to say that
the like how do you say that, epidemiologist. Epidemiologist, yeah. So I think the consensus there is he's
like
basically saying like no one knows the appropriate response to this. If the numbers start showing us something that's out of control, obviously we'll take the steps. But so far, like our numbers are within the rates of the other countries around us, which is sort of true, mostly.
Right. And it's really hard because, like I've said, it seems like you're picking and choosing with the approach of who you want to impact negatively. Either people that are older or have weaker immune systems who would be like severely negatively impacted by it, or maybe people that are poor or struggling financially who wouldn't be able to sustain either a slower or a stalled economy or a loss of a job, things like that.
Right.
So one thing I did want to mention, when you were talking earlier about this whole coronavirus pandemic and everyone's responsibility that they have for themselves and how you can't control other people, I think that's a concept that comes up a lot for me, and perhaps because of the way my brain is wired, or from studying it or studying economics and whatnot. I feel like sometimes I relate that, like financially, when I see people spending or borrowing or making decisions that aren't fiscally or financially responsible, it's a little frustrating to watch that, because I do know that their actions do have impact on me, on society as a whole, not only themselves. Not only are you putting yourself at risk, but you're putting other people around you at risk because of your actions. But unfortunately, you really can't control people. You can just do what's best for you, maybe try to educate people, maybe through example, but without pissing them off and turning them off to the cause. I don't know, maybe it's like you for veganism. Like, you see people making decisions and it's not good for a lot of things, but you can't fight them. You have to, hope that they come around to it.
You can fight them. You can shame them on social media. It's super easy.
Right. Is that the most effective way to go about eliciting change?
In 2020, yeah.
Have you been able to cancel anyone for not being vegan?
No, but I'm still trying. I'll get somebody.
Okay.
Maybe I'll get you.
Motown Philly's back again.
One good thing to come out of this crazy pandemic are the outfits that I'm seeing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
People are posting some pretty wild costumes and protective get-ups from grocery shopping adventures.
I saw the one of the guy wearing, he like had the like water bottle, like the refillable large water cooler type thing. Oh my God, that's the best one.
That was amazing. And the best part is that I was like, I'm kind of down. I think that like I could see
it
this
seems
working.
protective. Yeah, it seems very protective.
I mean, the sneeze guard vibe is definitely a thing, but then he's got like air access like above, and if we're talking about particulates, it's like they're probably not going to float upward. They're probably going to fall and be projected like out and down. So I don't know. Like,
I guess it does depend on how tall he is.
Right. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you're taller, but he seemed like a tall guy.
Yeah.
But tying this in, this all did remind me a lot of the quarantine bubble suits that Charlie's mom had.
Yeah, which also had the opening up top.
Oh my God, so perfect. So that's what that reminded me of, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah. So just quickly, what is it like there? Since I have no concept other than like CNN clips on Twitter.
Gotcha. Yeah, so things are pretty wild. I think most of my friends are doing a really good job of staying home, going only out for essentials. I checked in on a group text message chain about, how everyone was feeling about masks. And because masks, I think, are one thing where I keep reading for people saying that they're not effective in certain ways and they are not going to protect you, and people think that blah, blah, blah. But it really seems like no one's arguing that they are less effective than nothing. And
yeah, exactly.
No one
that's the whole idea.
No one seems to be talking either about the fact that those masks are usually for people who are either have symptoms or don't have symptoms yet, but are trying to make sure that they're protecting other people from them just in case they do have it. So their breath, their exhale, their cough, perhaps their sneeze, things like that. It really seems like that's what you're trying to do when you wear a mask, other than one of the like surgical grade N95, blah, blah, blah. Like when you're just like a bandana, rigged at home, or one of those cloth masks, I think that's why they're so popular in Asian cultures, because rather than have everyone wear a mask, if we can approximate or assume or guess as to who is feeling unwell or who might be contagious, if that person takes it upon themselves to wear a mask, they're protecting everyone else.
Yeah, again, it just comes down to social responsibility, which is...
Right. And that's the thing. From touring, we've seen it for years and years in Asia. It's like, and it's a little spooky when you see it on a plane or on a bus here.
Until you understand the point of it, and then it's like, this is the most logical conclusion.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one good thing that we're seeing from this is that it's being normalized. Like I said, it was like a week or two ago, and I just checked in with everybody because I started to I made a little homemade mask, and I was ready to go out and do it, even though I didn't see too many of the people up here on the mountain doing it. And every one of my friends was like, yep, full mask, always mask. I got mask and gloves. The glove thing I'm a little less into because I understand that, but from what I understand, the virus can't go through your skin unless it's broken, unless you have a cut or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that once you touch something that has the virus on it, then you've got germs and bacteria and viruses on your hands, and it's very hard to keep them so isolated. it means that you can't touch any of your clothing that you're later going to touch with your hands.
Right.
It means that you can't touch your wallet, your phone, your door handle of your car, your bags, your shopping bags, all of those things that you touch once you have the gloves on. If the gloves had protected your hands from whatever it is they were protecting, then they've just transmitted it. So them I'm a little less sure of, but the mask I think is great, and I think it's being normalized, which I think long term is going to be great for us. There's a picture of a woman in the subway somewhere, sitting on the subway with her mask pulled down around her neck, wearing gloves and eating McDonald's French fries, dipping them into her sauce, holding the gloves with the gloves on. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Dennis brings up a good point. Could a pizza survive or could a germ survive a scalding hot pizza?
Right. Exactly. These are the questions that we need to know. But you have to think about who's bringing you that pizza. A filthy delivery person that's going from house to house banging broads.
Yeah. Should we start talking about the show now?
Yeah, since we started talking about the show, why don't we jump into our wildly out of chronological order episode of whatever our podcast is called.
This is obviously an emergency pod that we're doing right now.
This is a state of emergency.
If there are as many It's Always Sunny podcasts out there as we suspect there are, I'm sure every last one of them is doing this right now. But this episode, how old is it? It came out
like season 9,
season 9, so 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just really hit home for me watching it again. Made me wistful for days where I didn't have to worry about this kind of stuff when it was like just a comedy show.
Right.
But I guess people did have to worry about the flu not that long ago, right? What was the H1N1? That was the last one?
I mean, yeah, we've had avian flu, we've had SARS, we've had Ebola, and also to give some people who keep saying this credit, the flu is a serious thing that affects and kills many people every year, like seasonally.
Did you see the Bill Mitchell tweet about diarrhea?
No, but maybe I did.
1.8 million people die from diarrhea a year. So
I shouldn't laugh, but I did.
Yeah.
But, okay, here's the thing. Do those people just have diarrhea and die from it? Or is the diarrhea a symptom of whatever
it's
is
probably
happening
that.
to them?
It's probably that, yeah.
But, and as absurd as that is, it does bring up another point. I tend to, on the internets, follow some people that lean to the hard right. Not necessarily Republican or alt-right or whatever, but more libertarian stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But a lot of them go on the conspiracy side of things, which I know that you can appreciate in some regard.
Of course I can.
And then the numbers that we're seeing are interesting because when you talk about the flu, a lot of people don't care about the flu like you and I maybe. Not that we don't care, but we're not as concerned because we're younger and relatively healthy. We have no other pre-existing conditions or immunity issues. So we'll probably survive the flu, so we don't really worry about it. But that's not who should be worried. And it's the same thing with coronavirus, that is it the flu that's killing these people? Perhaps, but were they in a position to be compromised in a way such that the flu could kill them? And in the same sense, the people with coronavirus, if they didn't have these otherwise like pre-existing conditions, would they have died from getting coronavirus? So is it like, do we attribute all of those deaths to the coronavirus? Because all of those people, if they had gotten the flu that wasn't the novel COVID-19, would they have died with the non-COVID, non-novel flu? And if so, is it right to you know what I mean, to attribute it to that?
Okay, I don't know anything about anything. Let me preface that.
Same.
But isn't the thing that's maybe killing the younger people, or the people who are like the doctors, or the people who like aren't maybe in the danger zone, isn't it more the respiratory bit that's different from the flu?
I do not know, but obviously there are people 100% who are dying from this that don't have any other conditions or age issues or anything. So
Yeah, because I think like even like having allergies is a condition that could be aggravated.
right. Yeah.
Because I
totally.
had asthma and allergies as a kid, like crazy, and I know what it's like to not be able to breathe, and I couldn't imagine going through that.
Right, exactly. And so someone in your situation who might be having like an asthma attack and can't breathe because of some fairly minor environmental trigger, imagine compiling that with like this crazy disease
Right.
or
Yeah, I
lungs
thought
filling up with water or whatever it might be.
I thought that was the difference between like the typical flu and this, but again, I don't know anything about anything.
Same. I'm just sort of doing a devil's advocate sort of,
So, shocker.
you know, and it's just like a thing where when you see numbers, it seems terrifying. And I look at those numbers, and the U.S. is up to 350,000 cases, or something. But and the deaths as a result, blah blah blah. But I don't know, what are those numbers. And then the numbers out of China that are just like disappearing now. You're just like, I don't know, are those real numbers? Are they underplaying it in the same way? Are we overplaying it and causing this? Is there like a new world order? Is there going to be martial law because everyone's so freaked out? Like, if you go back to 2001, the Patriot Act, like,
yeah, this is a ripe opportunity for government swooping in and being like, actually,
yeah, power grab.
There is now a curfew.
Yeah, NSA, like, they have to be tracking us. They have to use drones to keep the peace or keep people off the street. I think I just saw some video. Again, maybe it's not true, but there was like a drone in a park in New York City that was like yelling at people, telling them to go home.
Interesting.
Anyway, that's what's happening in the world. Let's talk about this episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
One of my first issues with the episode is I wish we'd been introduced to Rodriguez.
Rodriguez is dead.
True.
Because I feel like that would have really hit home a lot harder if you would have known the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
True.
like I was just listening to this thing about Star Wars and how in the original draft of the first Star Wars movie that Obi-Wan didn't die, and someone had to like come in and tell George Lucas, like, if the character dies, then you have that emotional weight to carry you through the rest of the movie, like this beloved old man that you basically just met, and I kind of got that same vibe with Rodriguez. It's like, if we would have known him, I feel like his death would have affected us a lot more. Maybe we would have reacted to it more similar to Frank, more so than a Charlie or a Mac.
Right. I think, yeah, basically their response
or maybe
is,
more accurately,
Rodriguez?
A D, because she's the one that's maybe the most chill about it.
Right. Yeah, because they don't know. So and that would be a very Always Sunny way to do things, to just kill someone off.
Yeah, but that's a very minor complaint. But I just think it would have added some emotional weight to the episode.
But that poses its own problem. If you have a reoccurring character that anyone's got any emotional attachment to, choosing to kill them off is tough when you don't have a set
9
arc.
seasons in,
I don't know.
Ned Stark died in the first season of Game of Thrones.
Who's Ned Stark?
The guy who got his head chopped off. The main
Spoiler
character
alert.
of season 1. Oh, shut the fuck up. Shut. I think I watched that episode with you.
Not for me, for other people.
Well,
you're talking about the main character of the entire first season of a pretty major show.
I feel like this is
getting his head chopped off.
This is common knowledge.
Woo! That's a big one. That's a bomb. Okay, anyway,
Anyways.
so yeah, I agree. I do agree. I would like to have had some emotional tie to Rodriguez because I like being hurt, but we didn't have that. So,
because the only person that we know that lives in the building besides Charlie and Frank is actually, we don't even know if he lives in the building. The landlord. What's his name?
That's who I was thinking of when I was like, could they have made it him? But he's such a terrible, awesome character. I would not want to see him gone.
No. Yeah, I'm just saying we don't know anyone else there.
Right.
So
exactly.
It does make sense that we don't know.
Yeah.
So one of the things also I thought about with like Frank's alarm, I was like, one of the first things I thought of was, this is the opposite of what's happening now, where it's like the old guy, the old danger zone,
right,
vulnerable character comes in like, holy shit, there's a flu and it's gonna kill everybody. Whereas like now the older generation is like, Well, maybe more so at first. It was overblown and no one was really taking it seriously, and now they're just basically saying like they will throw themselves on the sword for capitalism. But I feel like at first I had to like call my parents and be like, "You guys are taking this seriously, right?" And it was more maybe some jokes about it and talking about hoarding toilet paper, and I got a couple memes texted to me, and I kind of wish they had reacted to it like Frank, but now I think everyone's on board.
Right. Or at least in this country. And yeah, it is interesting because everything I've ever heard about like the flu in the past, 20 years is older people saying like, hey, you have to take it seriously because it can affect me or blah, blah, something to that effect.
Yeah.
Whereas, in the beginning, the middle, and wherever we are now, it really does seem like the older people who are more at risk are, on average, taking it less seriously than others. And,
Definitely.
And I'm sure 100%, 1,000%, there are exceptions to that. But from my experience,
Anecdotally.
When I text my friends at my age, they're taking it more seriously than other people. Luckily, my parents are taking it pretty seriously, and they're kind of shutting in. They just go to the grocery store. I doubt they're wearing masks, but they're probably like, washing their hands and things like that. I should probably school them a little bit more on masks and hand sanitizer, but I think they're distancing themselves.
Yeah, that's no problem for my parents, obviously, but I was just making sure that they were still taking it seriously.
Side note, how fucking good is the gang at singing? That's ridiculous to me.
It's a very good point. And I think it's funny that Dee has the part that she has and Dennis has the part that he has.
Not too hard, not too soft. Back in school, we used to dream about this every day. Could it really happen?
So my first reaction was how good at singing they are, which is also kind of a funny concept because they're supposed to be like South Philly dirtbags. And then you're like, oh, these are trained actors that are probably like really good at singing, dancing. They've probably done improv and stand-up and all those other things as humans, but as characters,
it's hilarious. It's
able
very
to
unexpected.
pull from that bank.
I think Glenn Howerton went to like Juilliard or something. That sounds sort of familiar.
Right, something like that.
This also isn't the first time they sang a Boyz II Men song.
No.
Is it season 1 or season 2? Now I sound like an idiot because this is an Always Sunny podcast. But they do It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday.
They're just really good singers, and they're representing Philly, which is awesome because, as we all know, Boyz II Men from Philadelphia.
Yeah, I made some sort of joke with Will earlier today, and I said that like I just was researching and I found out the Boyz II Men were from Philly, and Jesus Christ, he did not react well to it.
Who doesn't know that?
I was joking, of course. Fucking Motown Philly, of course I know.
Exactly.
It was a joke.
They apparently they went to the Performing Arts High School on Broad Street, which a portion of Broad Street was renamed for them.
What? Is that true?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess that makes sense because they were superstars in the 90s.
Dude, they have some crazy stuff going. They were like one of only 3 people, I think, to dethrone themselves from the Billboard Top 100, which was like Elvis Presley and the Beatles and Boyz II Men. And I think that as far as longevity at the top, with they're all very like career-wise, it's Elvis, Beatles, Mariah Carey, and Boyz II Men. Like they're the 4th most like they've spent the 4th most amount of time at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wasn't paying attention to stuff like that when they were popular, but I do remember having the cassette.
I mean, yeah.
So, I mean, you have to be pretty big for that.
Just as a you know what I mean? Just as a number, that's a wild thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know if you remember this, but when we first... Wait, no, it wasn't when we first started rehearsing. It was when we started rehearsing for the Nate Roos actual tour, not just like those TV shows. They were next door to us at SIR.
Oh, I don't remember that. That's cool.
I mean, the only reason I know that is because it was like, road cases in the hallway.
Right.
I did not see them or really hear them or anything.
Did they have like a cool logo or
no
acronym on the cases?
No, it just said Boyz II Men.
Okay, so
it was a dead giveaway.
but was it like? How was it? Was it BOYZ? Was it 2 or
Yeah,
like?
it's BOYZ, of course. BOYZ Roman 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know how it was. Like if you abbreviated it, would it be BTM or would it be BIIM?
I think it would BIIM.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
I guess. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying,
Yes.
Or would it be like B the number 2 and M? That's or just BM.
What do you think? What does that name mean?
Oh, it's a song. Shit. Who was it by? It was another like 80s 90s group.
Like New Edition or something?
Possibly.
Jodeci?
No, not Jodeci. I looked it up earlier. Well, searching Boyz II Men is going to bring up Boyz II Men. So, but anyway, I was reading about it, and it's like Belle Biv DeVoe was like their predecessor, like managers, and then it was them and another bad creation. We're like, anyway, I feel like we should talk about Always Sunny because even the intro is so good. First of all, they're fucking great at singing. And then when Frank comes in and is like, he's dead. I think Dennis has them stop because obviously Dennis is the controller, the leader of the group. And so he's like, we don't have time for this. We have to practice. And then Dee's like,
hold on a second. I'll bite. Who's Rodriguez?
Yeah, so good.
It's so great when she does that because that's like a classic Sunny moment where someone has like a bit or a scheme and they're just like I forget. I think it's the real estate scheme versus the pregnancy scheme. Where they're deciding on which, and they like split up. And I feel like they do that every once in a while, and they split up and do the little scheme, like whose scheme are you going to try? And then they often switch teams.
Yeah.
So I feel like
they started out with the house, and then they tried to combine it with the baby.
Hello?
God damn it.
Hello?
No.
Hi.
No.
We're looking for Deandra Reynolds. Oh, there she is. We're the wealthy homosexual couple that she promised her womb.
So one of the earlier funnier lines that I thought was really great was when they go get their sleeping bags and they're like,
guys, I gotta say, I'm excited to play Quarantine. Oh my God, for the last time, we're not playing Quarantine. This is a quarantine.
Also, I really like at some point where Dennis, I guess Charlie's like, whatever, it's fine. We sound fine. And Dennis responds by saying,
You think fine is good enough for the Boyz II Men?
I have that written down as well.
The Boyz II Men. Yeah,
and the other thing that they point out about Boyz II Men is the I'm doing scare quotes again. The visual harmony of the outfits.
Oh, right.
Because it's true.
Which is amazing because at some point later when Charlie and Mac are outside the quarantine and Dennis and Dee are inside the bathroom the quarantine within a quarantine.
Yes.
I love when Charlie has his Voltron diagram that he's drawn out.
Yeah.
And he isn't sure who's going to be the head or if they're all going to be crammed into the same suit.
Because you're in the same outfit.
Exactly. Also, I have a note. Maybe you can help me out with this. I have a note that says, my friend exploded. But I don't remember what it's from.
My friend exploded. Hey.
And she's reading her Bible. And her Bible was her daddy's. He just died of lung cancer? Throat cancer from eating some bad pussy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Michael Douglas reference.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the actor Michael Douglas. You know who that is?
No, but he died from eating bad pussy.
No, he didn't die. He did get throat cancer, and I believe that he intimated that it was from eating bad pussy.
Hold on. All right, first of all, I'm going to find out who this Michael Douglas is.
Oh my God, you know.
It sounds familiar. Oh! I know him. That guy. Okay, so
yeah,
Michael Douglas.
Throat
bad
cancer.
Pussy. The Guardian. That seems like a pretty credible source.
Yes.
Michael Douglas says cunnilingus gives you cancer.
Exactly. Yeah, he was the one saying it.
Whoa. From healthland.time.com. So I guess that's time.com, but I don't know what time is. Anyway. Michael Douglas is right. Oral sex can really cause throat cancer. Let's see what this is all about. This is pretty wild.
Yeah, so that must have just happened in, what was this, 2009? 2013. Jeez, I was way off.
Interesting. Okay. He is claiming that it's not tobacco or alcohol, but HPV, which is transmitted through oral sex. This article is saying he has since called the statement a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Then the article continues to say, but it's still true. You can get throat cancer from HPV, which I did not know.
Now you know.
But yeah, so when they're talking about the creation of this character, is when they start singing, "My friend exploded, my friend exploded."
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you knew what that was.
Yeah. It's a highlight of this episode.
And as you said,
go ahead.
Isn't it amazing that we are synced enough that when we start talking at the same time, we realize it?
And we stop at the exact same time.
Great. I was just going to call back. I don't know where my editing is going to take us, but I might edit out some of the earlier discussion. But your reference to whether or not the virus can survive a scalding hot pizza, I think, is a worthy mention.
Yeah, because, it's weird, though, that Dennis is defending the pizza thing, even though he's kind of been the most neurotic about germs among the gang that's not Frank.
Right. Yeah, it is interesting that he's the first one to break because he calls in the pizza delivery. Which
and he says they can't drink and all this stuff. Yeah, but then he orders the pizza, and then the amazing scene where he is on the phone with the pizza place and
right.
He's like, can you tell me who placed the order? Spider-Man. And then Frank is like,
Dennis, ask him how it's possible for him to talk to you through a cut phone wire.
How is it possible for you to talk to me through a cut phone?
Right. So here's the thing. The best part about that line, I mean, other than the fact that the timing of it and the setup is great, but before Frank asks him that, if you watch Frank's expression when he's watching Dennis go through the bit, is amazing. And I feel like a cheater a little bit because I knew what was happening.
right.
But the way Frank is nodding and watching Dennis go through the motions on the phone is so good, knowing that he cut the line already and he knows that he's lying.
Same with when he finds Dee in the office with her head in the ceiling.
Right.
And he was like, she basically talks him out of it, and he's like,
You use your head?
No, I'm getting a little stir crazy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It's driving you nuts.
Driving me nuts.
I get it.
One more thing.
same like he's like a disappointed parent with an addict child, and he's catching them in lies over and over.
Yeah, he's on his game.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that sort of brings us, well, as everyone gets caught, Dennis with ordering the pizza, Dee with her pizza and beer stash, they start getting sent into the bathroom for their individual quarantine within a quarantine. Yeah. But yeah, when Dee gets sent in and sees Dennis, and then every subsequent time we see Dennis progressively getting worse throughout the episode, that might be my favorite part of the episode.
And Dennis is singing when he's like, "Could a sick person do this?" That's always stuck in my mind as a very memorable scene because it's so creepy.
Yeah, I think it's good, but I can't tell if it's actually good or weird.
It's both.
Okay, well that's reassuring.
So they both go in. How does Matt get in? Oh, Matt gets in there because he has the breach at the store.
Oh my god, yeah. So we have to talk about the bubble suits because the whole time that this episode's happening, everyone's freaking out about being quarantined and getting sick. Charlie's like, I've been vaccinated for everything. My mother used to vaccinate me every month. I never get sick. I haven't been sick. And they reference the bubble suits that he used to wear all flu season that his mom had. So eventually we're lucky enough to see these bubble suits, and they're basically the best. And they remind me very much of some of the, lengths that people are going to protect themselves in this current pandemic.
Mm-hmm. You probably haven't seen anybody with the beer bottle mod at the top.
But my mom rigged hers with a special pouch so that she could have her cocktails. So then it fills up.
Right. The best part of Charlie's suit, because I guess Charlie's wearing his mother's suit, who she adapted with a special, they've got the spaceman plastic, and his suit, which is his mother's, was adapted to have a sort of funnel into a small bag and a straw apparatus, so you could pour beer into this little bag within the helmet and then sip it through the straw.
So well designed.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I also, for a moment, was just thinking of how maybe fun, I don't know, maybe it's annoying, but it's seemingly how fun it would be to be the costume set designer who had to build a quarantine suit with a beer funnel bag system.
Pretty great. So basically, the three of them get thrown in, and then Charlie sort of self-imposes because he's bored because Frank is losing his mind and shaving his head.
Yeah, Frank starts to shave his head and then starts putting on a hand sanitizer all over his body, talking about how hair is filthy and that's what carries the germs, and how he wants to be pure and he wants to cleanse Philadelphia. He gets really creepy, and he starts wanting to.
I feel like you're not going to know the answer to this question, but is that like an Apocalypse Now thing?
Definitely do not know.
Okay, because like Marlon, he's a little reminiscent of Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. I'm not totally sure.
Ooh, he is looking pretty shaven. Here we go. Here's a monologue. Yeah. Wait. No, he's eating. I thought the other character was eating, but I think he's eating.
Anyways, yeah. You don't have to watch the whole thing.
Classic hit.
I just feel like, have you never seen that movie?
Negative.
Oh my god. Again, not surprising, but it's a great movie. Yeah, I just get like a vague Colonel Kurtz vibe from the way that Danny DeVito's playing that bit, because he loses his mind quick. Well, I guess it takes 6 days. Never mind. It's not that quick. It's still pretty quick.
Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention, is that there's something scary yet reassuring yet familiar about the quarantine countdown or count up, where they keep track of each day.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of how it feels. You know, you're just like, oh,
these
another
blend
day
together. Yeah.
of quarantine. Here we go.
Yeah, so anyways, Charlie, I think the reason Charlie escapes to go to the quarantine is because Frank wants to shave him.
Yep. Because the hair is filthy.
He's eating those nuts, like spitting them all over the place. Some good close-ups in that.
Yep.
But yeah, so then they're basically all in there and they're all sick because Charlie says he's going to be just fine, and then he vomits. And then they're all sick.
And then Dennis finally admits that he thinks he's getting sick.
The makeup crew did a great job with him. He looks like a living dead person.
Yeah, my favorite thing perhaps throughout this episode is every time you see Dennis, not just that you see him and he gets progressively worse, which is awesome, but everyone's reaction to it is,
holy shit, dude. I think we need to call 911 for you.
Hey, should we work on our harmonies?
Seriously, dude? I think we need to get you to a hospital.
So I think at that point we're wrapping up, and I just wanted to mention a weird moment, and I don't know if you can tell me more about this, but at some point when after they start drinking the hidden booze under the counter, they all get better, and they're like, we don't know what to do with this information. Then they're like, we're alcoholics.
Just kids having fun.
Right. Max says, I physically can't stop, and we're just kids having fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's part of the group improv moment where every episode or whatever, every so often on the show, they have that moment where it seems a little unscripted.
Definitely.
A lot of times they'll say the same thing and they'll repeat each other, which is kind of a thing that happens in real life. When you're like about to think of something and someone else says it, you just, whether or not you're going to say the same thing, it triggers and you say the same thing they said.
Yeah.
Like, it's a phenomenon that happens, but for some reason when Mac does it, it doesn't seem like his character, or it seems out of place. Do you ever hear that or feel that or see that?
Yeah, that it becomes like Rob McElhenney and not necessarily Mac.
Right, or there's something like jovial or joking about it that's different or weird to me.
He's talking like a jabroni.
Well, I guess so, possibly. But I think that for every weirdness, like little vibe that I get from him doing that or breaking character, when Dennis suggests that he kicks down the door and he gets so excited and he's like, oh my God, I was just going to say that. His like childish excitement redeems it.
Yeah.
Anything else you got? What else did you love about the episode?
I just opened up the Sunny wiki, and apparently that bit about Dee doing the stutter is based on a real life America's Got Talent contestant who lied about getting a stutter from a war injury. That's really funny. So it's a combination of Michael Douglas's throat cancer and an actual like singing contestant.
That makes sense now that I think about it, because when she was coming up with the character, they were talking about them being selected because, they were trying out for an opening spot for Boyz II Men or whatever. So that's how she was going to earn the judges' sympathy.
Yeah.
So
Pretty smart.
that does, and it was
'Cause you
probably very topical, current.
Exactly, and you got to have a story for those shows.
Right.
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to say about this show is that this is where the flaccid erect thing comes from.
Oh, right.
Which is, I guess, kind of a meme, or was a meme. Maybe it still is, but I mean, it's one of the all-time memorable scenes, which has nothing to do with anything in this episode, but it's so funny, and I'm so glad that they put it in there.
I can go from flaccid to erect in a moment's notice.
He can. I've seen it.
Buddy, you're seeing it. You're all seeing it, because I'm doing it right now. Flaccid, erect.
Yeah. And the face that Glenn Howerton makes, kind of at the end of it, not too hard, not too soft. He's like concentrating and he's trying to smile. It's so good.
Yeah, he does that face occasionally where it's like there's somehow like an impish, semi-evil grin that sort of sneaks out.
Yeah.
It's weird. There's like some facade that he loses, and it's a very good minor transition sort of face. The last thing that I wanted to say about the episode, other than, again, them closing with their fucking amazing voices, which is annoying, is Jerry Gergich making a small cameo.
Yeah. I thought about that this morning.
He's like weird and great.
Wasn't Parks and Rec like a huge show at that point? Or was that before it got huge? I feel like it was already really big.
It ran for 5 or 6 seasons, and this was only 5 or 6 years ago, so it had to be at least in its, midway through.
Yeah, so what was he doing there? That's so weird.
Yeah, I have no clue. Or maybe, no, I don't know how the math works on that, but either way, I think it was great because I do think he is an underrated character because of how much of a whipping boy he is on that show and how awesome and super hot his wife is and all his kids, and like everyone loves him, and everywhere else in his world he's like considered the best, and they just constantly shit on him.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not super familiar with that show, but I do remember they get his name wrong like multiple ways, right? Isn't it like Jerry or Larry? And
it's a really, really, really good bit, personally, I think. But yeah, over the course of whatever 5 seasons, they change his name like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, Jim O'Hare is his name.
Who knew? Who knew that these actors had real names behind their facade?
Yeah, so anyways, that's the new format. It felt not that different towards the end there. I feel like
we started getting a little recappy, and we had a really slow start.
You have to go, you have to have some sort of structure, and I think we're still trying to feel that out. But
let me just give you a little stab. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to It's Always Stockholm in Los Angeles. Today we're talking about the quarantine episode. Hey guys, hey guys, what's up?
I held it as long as I could.
Me too. I love doing that.
That was great. That was great.
All right, welcome back to It's Always Stockholm in Los Angeles with your hosts Will Noon and
Nate Harold.
Yeah, we'll dub that in later.